Hi everyone and welcome to this full Disney Dreamlight Valley Tour 2026 edition. In this video, I'm excited to share my fully decorated valley. This is the first time I'm doing the full tour of my valley. I have been playing this game since it was released in early access back in 2022, and my valley went through many transformations over the years. I have over 2,500 hours on Steam with this game, mostly from decorating and creating short and long form content, and also taking pictures for my Instagram. I am pretty happy with my main valley current state, except for an item limit, which is not in a good place. I need help. This is definitely a maximalist design approach because this is how I personally like to decorate, but it is also to show how you can push the limits of decorating in this game, creating a wide range of themed scenes referencing various Disney and Pixar movies. Some of the biomes I recently rebuilt, and I have speed builds available on the channel in my Dreamlight Valley speed builds playlist. If you want to check it out, the link will be in the description below. Some of the biomes layouts have really been working for me, so I have not changed it much, but I am open to rebuild them in the future, since we got a lot of new items with recent updates and Wish Blossom Ranch DLC as well. My current Plaza design I made right before Lady and the Tramp update, and the main theme for it was a Romcom movie set, inspired by romantic comedies of the 90s and early 2000s. This layout has a lot of open space in the center, with buildings lined up along the perimeter, while leaving open two side paths to access nearby biomes and mining nodes. I also wanted for a plaza to transition to a peaceful meadow more seamlessly. That is why I avoided placing buildings next to the grand staircase and along the front edge. Currently, I have the Dreamlight Castle skin, Scrooge's shop, and Remy's restaurant set as a Springtime Valley bundle, and it matches very well with the romantic theme I was going for. For me, the plaza is the heart of the valley that connects everything. This is where I like to have all the main functional buildings and the player house. And for this design, I came back to the roots and left the original player's house design, the pink version. To fill the center of the plaza, I made two symmetrical fenced-off gardens with a lot of seating areas to attract characters. I also noticed that characters always want to stand in this front edge of the plaza, looking into the meadow. So I turned these areas into an open garden spaces with some seating available. So now my characters don't get stuck behind the buildings and I can easily come and talk to them here. To make this open space in the middle more interesting, I added romantic arches to frame all the entrances. They add height variation and help to set the overall romantic atmosphere. It was very important to me to make my valley functional, to lay paths the way so that it is easy to travel through. I actually have my main center path that goes from the Plaza Well all the way down to Dazzle Beach, and after testing a lot of different layouts, I found it to be the most optimal. I think this current layout maximizes the plaza space. It feels full and cozy but still functional as a center hub. It has this old European town charm that captures a romantic aesthetic. The peaceful meadow is the most eclectic biome in my valley. It doesn't have a single unified layout or design, but rather a collection of smaller vignettes that are blended together. This biome layout is split in two parts, divided by a main center path connecting Plaza and Dazzle Beach. And it leaves even less space with 3 ponds splitting the layout even further. In the center of the biome, I have the oldest house skin in the game, the very first one we got in Premium Shop, the Palace. It meant to mirror the main Dreamlight Castle. This side of the biome behind the castle is a collection of separate spaces blended together to the best of my abilities. Here I have an Alice in Wonderland inspired tea party table set up. Right next to it, I also added the Cheshire Cat tree in a corner of this area right before going down to Dazzle Beach. I definitely am planning to have a separate Alice in Wonderland biome, probably in Storybook Vale, but I have not moved it there yet. On the back, I have a mushroom house with Wally's garden and some fruit trees around it. I know a lot of players like to have a dedicated orchard where you have all the harvestable trees and bushes, but I went the route where I'm incorporating them into builds where it makes sense. For example, since Minnie loves gooseberries, I put them all around her house. Merlin loves everything blue, so I put all the blueberry bushes next to his house. And Stitch is obsessed with coffee, so he gets all the coffee bushes. But I still wanted to have this little cottage core built in my meadow, to have a place to seamlessly add Wally's garden. The rest of the space in this part of the meadow is taken by a couple picnic areas and a multiplayer portal that is looking much nicer now with the new springtime skin applied. I also added Lady Anna Tramp house here for now. Thankfully, it was small enough to add it to this existing build without deleting too much. The main central path I have laid out with the fountain tiles. I placed them here for the first time even before we got the water animation added to them. And after that one update, it was so fun seeing this water shooting in the air. I loved it so much that I never changed it. The other side of the meadow is fully dedicated to the Toontown, with Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Daisy's houses, forming the cozy little neighborhood around the largest pond in the meadow. I also have a market here with a Goofy stall and a functional workshop area with crafting, uncrafting, and cooking stations. I would love to have a bigger area for a Toontown village to add even more buildings. For example, I didn't have space to add a fire station building that we got from Starpath a couple years ago. I also think Oswald's house would fit nicely with Mickey and Friends characters. So I'm actually considering moving Toontown to a floating island in the future, and potentially using the meadow for a fantasy cottagecore themed builds, just because I tend to spend so much time in the main valley with the free updates, questing, and Starpath. So I want this part of the valley to look the most magical. Where did you put your Mickey and Friends characters? Let me know in the comments. I know they are the large part of the Disney brand, but they are definitely not the reason I play this game. My current meadow also has quite a lot of trees, which is what I wanted it to look like, but it ended up making the gameplay so much more difficult. With the events, when the random items are spawning in the valley, it's so hard to find them. These events are my least favorite part of the game so far, and I think they're actually very poorly designed. This is clearly a decorating game at this point, and for a lot of players, making this random thing spawn in our valleys is not what we want. I'm still finding the pink cracks under my decorations sometimes, by the way. And making minimalist designs in my Dreamlight Valley is clearly not my thing. Dazzle Beach is the most difficult area to design in Dreamlight Valley. Because of how narrow it is and with uneven shoreline, it makes it even more difficult to add buildings unless they can go both on water and land. After coming down the stairs from Peaceful Meadow, I have my little mermaid area. Ariel's castle is continuing the castle line and mirroring the Dreamlight Castle in the distance. I also placed Eric's castle here, right next to Ariel. Behind Eric's castle, I had to leave a small area to access the mining node. So I made a small scene with the Triton's throne, which is one of the Eternity Isle craftable items. Ursula is also here in the back corner, a bit hidden behind the coral reef, made with the items from Adventure in Neverland Starpath from last year. I was trying to make this part of the beach look like a coral reef on land and a mermaid kingdom. This area looks very different at nighttime because of all the glowing elements, including these palm trees. Heading back towards the bridge, I have Eric's ship docked next to the bridge with the tiki bar in front to finish off this Little Mermaid area. Across the bridge, I have the Pirate Port with a bar, which is also a sushi restaurant with its own octopus chef. Outside the bar, I have Moana's and Donald's boat with extra chests to store fish. On a separate island next to Dazzle Beach, I have Lilo and Nani's house, with a little fresh produce market in front. The flower hedges give it a bit of a resort vibe. Back at the mainland, I have Maui's house on the shore. And if you missed it last year, both Maui and Moana's house actually got updated interiors, which now look very lush and so much nicer. The rest of the beach is sort of a small village made up of Moana's and Stitch's house, and the enchanted tiki room on the back. Both Moana and Stitch got the little front yard to their houses. Stitch has a side patio and a laundry room. In front of the house, there is a private beach for surfing and a couple watchtowers. And of course, you can find coffee bean bushes here. I also could not help myself to make an Atlantis-inspired path next to the mystical cave because it is very clearly Atlantis-inspired, and I can't believe that we don't have anybody from this movie yet. This corner of the beach was clearly made to fit Moana's house, so this is where I had her since the very beginning. The front of her house is kind of like a tiny village on its own. We have a Maui statue, dinner table set up, and a house for Pua and Heihei. I used to have them here, but now they both follow Moana and Maui usually. I like how long the beach is and that it's wrapped around the meadow, so I could basically create multiple builds in one biome. And it is also convenient to travel through. I have crafting stations next to the cave and cooking station and a bar, which I use all the time. Glade of Trust is my favorite biome because I designed it by referencing two of my favorite Disney movies, Atlantis the Lost Empire and Princess and the Frog. Might seem a bit random at first, but this biome was perfect for a Louisiana bayou inspired build with Tiana's house and a restaurant. But we also have here a large waterfall on the other side of the biome, which is very clearly Atlantis inspired, so I just had to do both here. Glade of Trust also has a couple other smaller areas, like an island in the middle, which I made a witchy inspired, and in a far corner of the biome, I have a fairy core built with Alice in Wonderland Garden Labyrinth. One of my favorite items in this biome are those flowery New Orleans gazebo from Tiana's Star Path. I love that we can decorate them inside and characters would actually come and interact with it. I have two of these gazebos here, and one of them is part of the side patio for Tiana's restaurant. I placed both Tiana's house and the restaurant in a corner of the biome around one of the ponds, and I love how it turned out. I do have a rocky terrain laid out on top of the path here, which is definitely not optimal for my item count, but I love how much texture it adds to the ground. Across the river, you can see this lush fairy core inspired build that adds more pink and purple to this biome. And if you go around this fairy bloss home, you will find a pond surrounded by Alice in Wonderland inspired labyrinth. I also have another smaller tea party table set up here. I was planning to move the one I have in the meadow here, but I end up leaving them both for now. The labyrinth walls are separate the fairy corner from the rest of the biome, which is Atlantis inspired. First, I have an archaeology camp on the outskirts of Atlantis. This camp is made using a lot of Mulan items and Eternity Isle tents. The second part is the area around Eve's house, which represents advancement of the ancient technologies of Atlantis. I figured if we don't have any Atlantis characters yet, robots will be the best fit here. This is why I put Wally's and then Eve's house here. I built this biophilic lab around Eve's ship and also added a lot of high-tech items from Eternity Isle, and the stone sculptures scattered around repeating Atlantis ruins from the waterfall. The last part of Atlantis area is Wally's house. next to the pond, surrounded by stone walls and glowing flowers. This build looks absolutely gorgeous at nighttime. I left all the fishing spots accessible and I love to come fishing here. I also added the train to separate the two main areas even further. And at last, the island in the middle. I just decorated it with some witchy stuff and more lush plants. I just love the 360 view that opens from here on a whole biome. I also have individual biome tours on my channel, and for Glade of Trust, I included some room designs inspired by Princess and the Frog and Atlantis movies, if you want to check it out. The next biome is Forest of Valor. It is mostly dedicated to Beauty and the Beast and Frozen. The first thing you see coming up from the plaza is the market area with Goofy's and Kristoff's stalls. This is part of Belle's provincial town area. I have a dedicated workshop fenced off area here as well. I try to have some form of functional crafting areas in most of my biomes for convenience purposes. That way, I can also use all these different style crafting tables and cooking stations that we have. Behind the market, I have the little sword and a stone build. Merlin has an outdoor library next to his house, and the astronomy club set up for stargazing. The witchy cottage in the corner definitely looks inspired by Madame Mim's house, with this purple witchy hat-styled roofs. And the last piece of the puzzle is the actual sword in a stone in front of the forest pillar. The well centerpiece is the main hub of the forest. From here, you can go in any directions to get to any house or a nearby biomes. I have the Bell's father's house here and the rose garden right across it. I was planning to use it as a place to keep the flowers spawning in this biome, but while using Eternity Isle vacuums, it is just much easier and faster to pick up everything instead of individually selecting items. So the garden stays empty for the most of the time. And the last but not least part of Beauty and the Beast area is Beast Castle and Gardens. I also made the elaborate stone path design in front of the castle leading to Dazzle Beach and Frosted Heights. On either side of the castle, I have a romantic dinner set up on the right, and on the left I used to have a Beast flower stall, but I moved it to Plaza. And now, after getting Once Upon a Dance bundle, I placed the gazebo and piano here for Beast and Belle to dance. But I actually never seen them do that. I was very disappointed, to be honest, because I thought that this is what the bundle was for, but the dance only happened once, during the quest. And now it's just a pretty area to walk through. Across the river, I have my Arendelle area. This is a very old build, and since then I already built a whole separate Arendelle in the Wish Blossom Ranch and moved everyone there except that I cannot move Elsa's cave, of course. Here in the middle I used to have Anna and Christoph's house, but now I just have these frozen gardens with fountains and ice sculptures and frosted trees framing the area. There is also a spa in the back corner, and at nighttime all the lampposts are casting blue light mixed with permafrost clouds glow, making this area look like a snow queen's domain. Frosted Heights is one of my recently rebuilt biomes. For this iteration, I dedicated this design to Cinderella and Frosted Fairy themed builds. The Frosted Heights biome is split into two parts, and it worked out great because one part I could use to make a Winter Fairy inspired village, and the second part is fully dedicated to Cinderella's castle and the grounds. We had a lot of items from Winter Fairy Star Path from last winter, and now we have even more fairy themed items with the addition of Wish Blossom Ranch. I used some of the new fairy foliage, but mostly tried to maintain the frosty, wintry look. I also moved Fairy Godmother's house to this biome to be closer to Cinderella, but also because she's the only fairy we have at the moment. And I just love how her pumpkin house looks here. This pop of orange color in the snow, combined with the flowers from Pixie Acres, making this biome looks like a winter fairy frozen realm. The fairy village continues with a path wrapping around the pond, Winter Fairy Cottage in a corner, and the Goofy's Market stall with a couple of sitting areas in the opposite corner. One of them, the Midnight Garden Gazebo, is overlooking Cinderella's castle across the bridge. Cinderella's castle fitted in Frosted Heights perfectly with its light blue color scheme. I added a grand path leading to the front entrance, formed by two frozen lakes, using these cage lanterns and winter crystal gazebos, making this build look more complex and adding height variation. The backyard of a palace is built using charming castle wall kit. It has another midnight gazebo surrounded by flowers. I found this spot the most romantic in this biome. I actually have two builds with Cinderella's castle on the channel. Initially, after update, I placed her in the plaza and made the combined build with the Winter Castle bundle. But after holidays, I decided to move Cinderella to Frosted Heights. It was the time to update the Christmas theme park build that I had here previously. And now I think I will be happy with my Frosted Heights for a while. Sunlit Plateau is my lion kingdom and candy biome all in one place. This is probably the most organic design in my valley. There is no symmetry in layout, and there are only two houses, all the way on the back edge of the biome, that actually look like houses. The whole biome is formed by tree clusters and naturally curved paths. The front part of the biome is a mix of a jungle and safari, with the Pride Rock and Scar in his designated elephant graveyard area. I also have a small market area with a couple of stalls and a jungle bar right next to it, where I could add some functional stations. The traveling well is conveniently located in the middle and very close to the mines. I probably visit this biome most of the time just to go to the mines, and I also buy gems from Aladdin's stall all the time because I'm always running low on onyx after making potions. Going across the river, there is a small camping ground with Buzz's RV. Right after, you can enter the Sugar Rush racing track. The track is made out of candy pathing going around the lake. And I even placed racing cards with the start and finish signs. If you play Disney Spinstorm, they actually have the Sugar Rush racing track reference in the movie, and they use this exact start-finish sign. I know a lot of people hate Penelope's house, but I actually like it. It looks exactly like the entrance to her cave in the movie. And I found place for it in my valley by building a dedicated space around it. And with the sweet house next to it, it is forming a cute little candy neighborhood. My Forgotten Lands is mostly inspired by Nightmare Before Christmas, with a couple more individual spooky houses. Forgotten Lands is the most inconvenient biome to design because of the Forgotten treehouse almost in the center that has a ridiculously large footprint, and there are also two ponds, which leave even less space. Whatever happened to this treehouse anyway? I thought it would be part of the second chapter, but we only got this ridiculous long quest to get Pluto for this past year, and nothing about second chapter. The front of the biome I have mostly taken by the Nightmare Before Christmas Halloween town. And in the leftover space, I made the rock show stage after we had the night show star path. It's probably the most random part of the build, but I decided to leave it for now until I redo the entire biome. Directly behind the haunted mansion is the tree house, so there's not much going on there. But on the right side is the graveyard inspired by the Nightmare Before Christmas, and Jack and Sally's house is in front of the gate. Behind their house, we have another pond, and this is where I placed a couple more spooky houses that fit this biome's aesthetic. It's not visible very well from the character's height, but I also added Tower of Terror and Chernabog's Changing Castle. With this item, you can see Chernabog himself, but only in the nighttime. But with the third camera view, it's really hard to tilt the camera up to actually see him on the top. And the same for the Tower of Terror. It is better to see it from a distance rather than up close. Forgotten Lands is probably my least favorite biome design in my valley because of how limiting the space is. But we actually had more Nightmare Before Christmas items after the limited time events and new premium shop additions, so I might end up rebuilding the whole Halloween town for Jack and Sally in the future. And this was the complete tour of my valley. Let me know in the comments which was your favorite design and which biome should I redo first. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!